Listen to me carefully. Life and nations are the same. Both are built on decisions that look impossible in the moment, but shape the destiny forever. When you see India moving toward China, you might shake your head and wonder why, how, what happened. But if you open your eyes, you will see the truth. It's not weakness, it's not surrender, it's pure strategy. It's survival. And it's a lesson for every single one of us. Power always respects power. This is the foundation of every great move, every great decision, and every great shift in history. India knew this truth well. When you stand weak, when you bend your knees to the demands of others, you are treated as nothing more than a pawn. Promises are made to you but never fulfilled. Words are spoken to you but never honored, and you remain on the outside begging for a place at the table. But when you build yourself into a force that cannot be ignored, the world suddenly listens. They may not like you, they may not agree with you, but they cannot deny your presence. That is the essence of power. It forces attention, it commands respect, it creates influence. India saw that waiting for the approval of others, waiting for handshakes and smiles, would keep it small. It needed to align with strength, with someone that gave it leverage, so the global stage would have no choice but to recognize its weight. Think about your own life. Nobody respects weakness. Nobody looks at someone who is constantly begging, constantly compromising, and says, yes, this is a leader. Respect is not given out of pity. Respect is earned through effort, through building yourself so strong that your existence alone demands it. India realized that by stepping toward a position of greater power, it would not only gain the upper hand in negotiations, but also send a message to the world. We will not be ignored. The same is true for you. If you stall and uncertain, if you doubt yourself, if you constantly rely on others to validate your choices, you will be forgotten. But if you work tirelessly, if you push your limits, if you build your body, your mind, your skill, and your influence into something undeniable, then people will turn their heads when you walk into the room. The reality is, nobody hands you respect on a silver platter. It comes when you earn it through strength. Strength of character, strength of body, strength of vision. India chose power over comfort, strategy over dependency, because it knew the world only values those who carry weight. When the game is about survival, when the stakes are about influence, when the future is about being remembered or forgotten, the choice becomes clear. You must stand strong, you must align with power, and you must make yourself impossible to ignore. Betrayal opens new doors, even though in the moment it feels like the end of everything. India stood by its partner, listening to promises, watching commitments spoken on grand stages, expecting loyalty in return for loyalty. But when the mask slipped, when the words turned hollow, when the actions proved different from the speeches, that's when the realization hit. Nothing was guaranteed. What looked like friendship was in truth a game of shifting interests. Betrayal can burn like fire. It can humiliate. It can make you question your own worth, but it also shakes you awake. It forces you to see the truth behind the curtain. It breaks your illusion so that you can start building something real. India saw betrayal not as a final defeat, but as a signpost pointing in a new direction, a chance to step away from dependency and toward independence. Think about how many times in life betrayal has pushed you to change. A friend you trusted turns their back. A partner lies. A colleague undermines you. At first it crushes you. You feel the pain, the anger, the disappointment. But then, after the storm, you see clearly. You understand that you were holding on to someone who was never truly there for you. You understand that their absence is not a loss. It is freedom. You have been given the gift of clarity. You are no longer bound by false promises. That is exactly what India felt. The betrayal of promises was painful, but it broke chains. It created room for new alliances, new strategies, new pathways. Without betrayal, the old ties would have kept it locked in the same cycle of waiting, hoping, and being disappointed again and again. The truth is, betrayal is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of a stronger one. It forces you to stop leaning on others and start building your own foundation. It shows you who you can really trust and who is only there to use you. For India, Betrayal was a fire that cleared the path, making way for decisions that were bold and risky, but also necessary for survival. For you, betrayal should not be a reason to collapse, but a reason to rise higher, to see new opportunities, to use the pain as fuel. Because every door that closes through betrayal opens two more if you are brave enough to look beyond the disappointment and step into the unknown. Survival demands flexibility, because rigidity is the fastest way to break under pressure. India looked at the world and saw shifting alliances, unpredictable economies, and threats from every side. If it chose to remain locked in one direction, chained to one partner, it risked being destroyed the moment that relationship collapsed. So instead of being rigid, it bent, it adjusted, it changed its angle. This flexibility wasn't weakness, it was strategy. Just like a tree that bends with the storm but does not fall, India understood that survival means being able to move, to adapt, to pivot when the winds change. In politics, in war, in life itself, the ones who remain stubborn are the ones who break first. The ones who adapt are the ones who last. Look at your own life. How many times have you failed because you refused to adapt? Maybe you stayed stuck in the same job, waiting for a promotion that never came. Maybe you held on to a relationship that was already dead, hoping it would magically heal. Maybe you kept repeating the same method, even when it brought you nothing but disappointment. That is rigidity. That is the refusal to bend. And just like a tree that cracks in a storm, you found yourself broken. Flexibility is what allows you to adjust your path without losing your direction. India didn't forget its goals. It didn't forget its vision. It simply chose a new way to pursue them. That is the lesson you must learn. You can still hold on to your dreams while changing the road that leads you there. Flexibility means survival, because the world is never stable. Economies crash, relationships shift, opportunities vanish, and new ones appear. If you cling to the old path, you get left behind. But if you adjust, if you move with the times, you not only survive, you thrive. India chose to bend because it wanted to remain alive in a game where nations can disappear overnight if they refuse to evolve. And in your journey, you must remember the same truth. Never let pride trap you in a dead end. Never let stubbornness chain you to failure. The strongest are not the ones who never change. They are the ones who change with precision, who bend without breaking, who adapt without losing their vision. The game is bigger than emotions, and this is where most people fail to understand the truth. Nations do not make choices based on friendship, affection, or anger. They make choices based on survival, on long-term gain, on strategy that shapes decades into the future. India's decision was not about love or hate. It was not about who smiled more or who offered warmer words. It was about who could provide leverage, security, and opportunity in the long run. Too often, people confuse emotions with strategy. They let anger dictate their choices. They let pride close doors. They let fear stop them from moving forward. But when the stakes are this high, when the game is about the future of a nation, emotions must be set aside. Decisions must be made with cold clarity, not heated feelings. This is the same in your personal life. How many times have you made choices because you were angry or hurt, only to regret them later? You walked away from opportunities because your pride was wounded. You held on to toxic relationships because your emotions blinded you. You wasted years because you confused feelings with strategy. That is the trap. Emotions can inspire you, but if you let them control your direction, they will sabotage you. India recognized that. It refused to let history, grudges, or affection decide its future. It looked at the world map, it calculated the risks, and it made a choice that many didn't expect because it wasn't guided by sentiment, it was guided by service. Eval. The truth is, every great player knows that emotions are the easiest weakness to exploit. Competitors will push your buttons, they will test your pride, they will try to make you angry so that you act recklessly. But if you can stay calm, if you can detach from the noise, if you can play the bigger game with patience and vision, then you win. That is exactly what India aimed to do. It stepped away from the emotional noise and chose to move like a strategist, not like a victim. The game of power belongs to those who think beyond feelings, who act with calculation, who see the board 5 steps ahead, while others are still drowning in anger or fear. Legacy is built on courage, and courage is never comfortable. Every bold decision in history began with fear, with doubt, with people saying it could not be done. India's choice to step into a new alliance was exactly that, a decision that many criticized, many doubted, many even mocked. But history does not remember the voices of doubt. It remembers the actions of those who had the courage to take risks. Legacy is not written by those who played it safe, who stayed silent, who avoided conflict just to remain comfortable. Legacy is written by those who dared to act when the world told them to stay still. That is why courage matters more than approval, more than popularity, more than temporary comfort. In your own life, think about the moments that shaped you. Were they the safe choices? Were they the decisions where you did what everyone else told you to do? Or were they the times you stepped into the unknown, the times you risked failure, the times you dared to take the leap when nobody believed in you? That is the pattern of greatness. Courage is the fuel that drives transformation. Without it, you stay stuck in the same cycle of comfort, invisible to the world, forgotten by history. India understood that if it wanted to shape its destiny, it could not remain trapped by fear of criticism or fear of failure. It had to take a step that looked dangerous but promised a future worth fighting for. The truth is, courage is not about being fearless. Courage is about moving forward even when the fear is crushing you. It is about knowing the risk, knowing the cost, and still deciding that the reward is worth it. India's choice was filled with risk, but it also carried the seed of legacy. The same applies to you. If you want to be remembered, if you want to leave behind something greater than yourself, then you must be willing to take risks that others avoid. You must be willing to carry the weight of doubt, to stand alone if necessary, to embrace the discomfort that comes with chasing something extraordinary, because legacy never belongs to the timid. It belongs to those who act with the courage to change the story. So the next time you wonder why India chose China, don't just look at politics. Look at the deeper lesson. Power respects power. Betrayal creates new doors, flexibility keeps you alive, emotions blind, strategy builds, and courage writes history. That is the truth. And if you want to rise, if you want to become unstoppable, then stop being afraid of change, stop waiting for approval, and start acting with the courage that carves legacies. Because in this world, the bold don't just survive, they dominate.